In the ancient world, at a time when the roads from Jerusalem fanned out across the arid hills and valleys of Judea, a remarkable encounter occurred, one that would echo across the centuries as a symbol of faith's reach and the boundless possibilities of spiritual transformation. The story begins not in the bustling squares of Jerusalem, but along the dusty, sunlit road that led south toward Gaza, a route often traveled by merchants, pilgrims, and emissaries of distant lands. It was here that the story of the first African baptized in the New Testament would unfold, a story that would become a testament to the universality of the Christian message and the breaking down of barriers between peoples and nations. The man at the center of this story was an Ethiopian official, a person of high rank and significant responsibility in the court of Candace, Queen of the Ethiopians. He was the treasurer, entrusted with the management of the royal wealth, a role that demanded intelligence, integrity, and loyalty. Ethiopia, in the context of the ancient world, referred not only to the modern nation, but to the broader region south of Egypt, a land known for its rich history, powerful monarchs, and cultural achievements. For centuries, Ethiopia had maintained contact with the wider world, its caravans and emissaries traveling as far as Jerusalem, the heart of Jewish religious life. The Ethiopian official was a man of faith, a seeker who had journeyed all the way to Jerusalem to worship at the temple. This was no small undertaking. The distance was great, the journey arduous, and as a foreigner and a eunuch, he would have faced restrictions on his participation in the religious rites of the temple. Yet his devotion compelled him to make the pilgrimage, to seek the God of Israel, to pray and to learn. On his return journey, he sat in his chariot, surrounded by the quiet rhythms of the landscape, reading from the scroll of the prophet Isaiah. The words he read were ancient, yet alive with meaning, stirring questions in his heart that he longed to understand. At this moment, another figure enters the story, Philip, one of the earliest followers of Jesus. Philip had been called by an angel of the Lord to leave the thriving ministry in Samaria and go to the desert road south of Jerusalem. It was a call that defied logic. For why leave a place where crowds were responding to the message of Jesus to travel a lonely stretch of road? Yet Philip obeyed, trusting that God had a purpose in mind. As Philip walked along the road, he saw the Ethiopian official seated in his chariot, reading aloud from the scroll of Isaiah. Moved by the Spirit, Philip approached and asked the question that would set the stage for their encounter. "Do you understand what you are reading?" The official replied, "How can I, unless someone guides me?" With that invitation, Philip was welcomed into the chariot, and together they began to explore the words of the prophet. The passage the Ethiopian was reading described a figure led like a sheep to the slaughter, silent before his shearers, deprived of justice. "Who is the prophet speaking about?" he asked Philip. "Is it himself or someone else?" It was a question that cut to the heart of the Christian message, for the passage in Isaiah had long been understood by the followers of Jesus as a prophecy of the suffering Messiah. Seizing the moment, Philip began to explain. He told the Ethiopian about Jesus, about his life, his teachings, his death, and his resurrection. He showed how the words of Isaiah pointed to Jesus as the fulfillment of God's promises, the one who bore the sins of humanity and brought salvation to all. In that chariot, on a lonely road under the open sky, the gospel was proclaimed, and the Ethiopian official's heart was opened. As they traveled together, they came upon a body of water, perhaps a stream or a pool by the roadside. The official, moved by faith and conviction, asked, "Look, here is water. What prevents me from being baptized?" It was a moment of decision, a declaration of faith that transcended boundaries of nation, ethnicity, and status. Philip affirmed his readiness. "If you believe with all your heart, you may." The Ethiopian replied, "I believe that Jesus Christ is the Son of God." The chariot was stopped, and together they went down into the water. There, Philip baptized the Ethiopian official, marking him as the first African to be baptized in the New Testament. It was a simple act, yet profound in its significance. The water of baptism became a symbol of spiritual rebirth, a sign that the good news of Jesus was not confined to one people or place, but was for all nations. When they came up out of the water, the Spirit of the Lord carried Philip away, and the Ethiopian official continued on his journey, rejoicing. He returned to his homeland, not only as a trusted servant of the Queen, but as a witness to the transformative power of faith. The encounter on the road to Gaza became a seed planted in the fertile soil of Africa, a sign that the gospel had begun to take root far beyond the borders of Jerusalem and Judea. Over the centuries, the story of the Ethiopian official has inspired countless believers. It stands as a reminder that spiritual longing can draw us across great distances, that questions can open doors to understanding, and that faith can unite people from every corner of the world. The Ethiopian's journey was not just a physical one. It was a journey of the heart, a search for truth that led to an encounter with the living God. In the early days of the Christian movement, the baptism of the Ethiopian official was a harbinger of things to come. It signaled that the message of Jesus was reaching out to the nations, breaking down barriers of language, culture, and status. The followers of Jesus would soon be sent to the ends of the earth, proclaiming the good news to all who would listen. The Ethiopian's experience was a first fruit, a sign that the harvest would be great. The significance of this event cannot be overstated. In a world where divisions of race, nationality, and status were often rigidly enforced, the baptism of an African official by a Jewish follower of Jesus was a radical act. It declared that in Christ there is neither Jew nor Gentile, slave nor free, male nor female, all are one. The waters of baptism washed away the distinctions that had separated people, making them members of a new community united in faith and love. The Ethiopian official's story also highlights the importance of spiritual curiosity and openness. He did not let his status as a foreigner, his position as a eunuch, or the limitations placed on him by the religious establishment prevent him from seeking God. He traveled far, asked questions, and welcomed guidance. His humility and eagerness to learn are qualities that continue to inspire seekers today. Philip's role in the story is equally significant. He was willing to leave behind the success and comfort of his ministry in Samaria to follow the prompting of the Spirit. He approached the Ethiopian with respect and kindness, listened to his questions, and shared the message of Jesus in a way that spoke to his heart. Philip's example reminds us that sharing faith often begins with listening, with meeting people where they are, and with allowing the Spirit to guide our steps. The encounter between Philip and the Ethiopian official is also a story of providence. The timing was perfect. The official was reading from a passage in Isaiah that opened the door to understanding the mission of Jesus. The meeting was divinely orchestrated, a reminder that God is at work in the details of our lives, bringing people together at just the right moment. After his baptism, the Ethiopian official returned to his homeland, carrying with him the message of Jesus. While the New Testament does not tell us what happened next, tradition holds that he became a witness to the faith in Ethiopia, perhaps laying the foundations for the ancient Ethiopian church, which has endured through the centuries as one of the world's oldest Christian communities. The ripple effects of his encounter with Philip can still be felt today in the vibrant faith of millions across Africa and beyond. The story of the Ethiopian official is not just a tale from the distant past. It is a living invitation to all who seek meaning, hope, and connection with the divine. It reminds us that no one is beyond the reach of God's love, that faith can flourish in the most unexpected places, and that the journey of the heart can lead us to encounters that transform our lives. As we reflect on this story, we are invited to consider our own journeys. What questions are we carrying? What distances are we willing to travel in search of truth? Are we open to the guidance of others, to the promptings of the Spirit, to the possibility that a chance encounter could change everything? The Ethiopian official's example encourages us to seek, to ask, to listen, and to embrace the gift of faith wherever we find it. The road from Jerusalem to Gaza may have been a lonely one, but on that day, it became the setting for a meeting that would shape history. In the quiet of the afternoon, beside a pool of water, boundaries were crossed, hearts were opened, and a new chapter in the story of faith began. The Ethiopian official, once a seeker, became a witness, a testament to the power of the gospel to reach the ends of the earth. Through the ages, the memory of this encounter has inspired artists, theologians, and believers of every generation. It has been celebrated in art and song, recounted in sermons and stories, cherished as a sign of hope and inclusion. The image of the Ethiopian official reading the scroll, the chariot halted beside the water, the act of baptism under the open sky, all speak to the beauty and simplicity of faith's journey. In a world still marked by division and exclusion, the story of the Ethiopian official challenges us to break down barriers, to welcome the stranger, to celebrate the diversity of God's people. It reminds us that the journey of faith is open to all, that the waters of baptism are wide enough to embrace every nation, tribe, and tongue. As we imagine that ancient road, the dust swirling in the breeze, the sun shining overhead, we are reminded that the story is not finished. The invitation to seek, to question, to believe, and to be transformed is as real today as it was then. The Ethiopian official's journey continues, in every person who sets out in search of meaning, in every heart that is open to the message of hope, in every life transformed by faith. In the end, the story of the first African baptized in the New Testament is a story about the wideness of God's mercy, the power of spiritual hunger, and the surprising ways in which our journeys intersect with the divine. It is a story that invites us all to step onto the road, to listen for the voice that calls us onward, and to trust that, wherever our journey leads, we are never alone. As the Ethiopian official traveled homeward filled with joy, he carried with him more than a new faith. He carried a new identity, a new purpose, and a new story to share. His life had been changed, and through him, the world would be changed as well. The road to Gaza became the road to transformation, the place where faith crossed borders and the good news began its journey to the ends of the earth. Thus, the Ethiopian official's encounter with Philip stands as a beacon of hope, a reminder that the journey of faith is open to all, that questions can lead to deeper understanding, and that the love of God knows no boundaries. It is a story that invites us to listen, to learn, and to embrace the adventure of faith, wherever it may lead.